Thank you very much. I want to welcome everybody to this emergency session of the Judicial Council. As you know, we've started these to deal with a coordinated response to the pandemic. And I do believe that the work we've been able to do as a group has been helpful in us stepping in sync with one another across the state in a responsible way. So thank you for your participation. Thank you all for being here and being a part of this call. I want to remind everybody that these meetings are recorded, they are live streamed, and many times there's media present and it's open to the outside world. So it's not just the judicial family. In our last emergency call, it was reported that Judge Karen Batten had contracted the virus, she and her husband both. We all seen reports that we have since lost Judge Batten. And we want to just share our condolences, extend our condolences to her family, to her probate court family. And if you would, I think it's appropriate for us just to have a moment of silence, if you would, please. All right, thank you. Thank you. We do have a new judge that will be joining the Judicial Council. I'm happy to introduce Judge Thomas Lakes to you, probate court judge out of Harris County. He's the new president-elect of the Council of Probate Court Judges, effective this month. So Judge Lakes, if you're here, I saw you earlier. If you could unmute your device, I will administer the oath to you. I'll ask that you listen to the oath, listen to its terms, and if at the end you can abide with the oath, signify such by saying, "I do." If you're there.
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Okay, good enough. I, Judge Lakes, do swear or affirm that I will faithfully and impartially discharge and perform all the duties incumbent on me as a member of the Judicial Council of Georgia, according to the best of my ability and understanding, that as a member of the Judicial Council, I will endeavor to improve the administration of justice in this state for the benefit of the public as well as the bench and bar, that I will strive to improve the judicial system of this state as a whole as well as in its parts, and that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the state of Georgia, so help me God.
I will.
Very good. Thank you so much. And we do welcome you here. Wish we could shake your hand in person and small talk a little bit, but we look forward to the opportunity to get to know you better. I do want to thank Judge Carrie Carter, the former president-elect of the Council of Probate Court Judges, for her service on the Judicial Council. Joining us today, we have Senior Judge Jack Partain, who is sitting in for Judge Ralph Van Pelt of the 7th Administrative Circuit District. And also want to welcome, I'm not sure I saw her join, but Jennifer Dalton, are you there? Jennifer Dalton is the new General Counsel to the Department of Public Health. She and I overlapped to some degree in the law department in the Attorney General's office a few years back. And so it's a pleasure to reconnect with her in this context. But Judge, Ms. Dalton, if you are there, we do thank you and your department for your assistance.
Thank
Ms.
you.
Clanton, oh, good, you are there.
I am
Ms.
here.
Clanton.
Thank you. Nice to see you again.
Yes, good to see you. Ms. Clanton, will you help us with the roll call, please?
Absolutely, Chief. Presiding Justice David Namias.
I'm here, thank you.
Judge Christopher McFadden.
Present.
Vice Chief Brian Rickman.
Here.
Judge Walter Davis.
Here.
President Brian Amero.
Here.
President-elect Paget.
Here.
Judge Kite.
I'm here.
Judge Melanie Cross. Judge Sizemore.
I'm here. Thank you.
Great. Chief Judge Asha Jackson.
I'm here.
Great. Chief Judge Chris Brasher.
Here.
Judge Fletcher Sams,
I'm here.
Senior Judge Jack Partain,
Here.
Judge Sarah Wall, Chief Judge Jeff Bagley,
Here.
Judge Jim Blanchard,
Here.
President Wes Taylor,
I'm here.
President-elect Al Wong.
Here.
The juvenile court judges are in training today. President Kelly Wolk,
Here.
President-elect Thomas Lakes,
Here.
President TJ Hudson,
Here.
Chief Judge Beryl Anderson sitting in for Quinn Casper today.
I am here. Good afternoon.
Thank you, Judge. President Willie Weaver,
Here.
President-elect Lori Duff,
Present.
and Elizabeth Fight sitting in for Don Jones, President of the State Bar.
I'm here.
Thank you. That completes the roll, Chief.
All right, thank you, Ms. Clanton. The minutes have been circulated to the body. Hopefully you had a chance to review. If anybody has any comments, we'll hear it now. Otherwise, do we have a motion to approve?
So move.
Thank you, Judge Weaver. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Chief Judge McFadden. Anybody opposed to approving of the minutes? Okay, those will stand approved. The main thing we want to do is give you an update on our last order and where we stand. Of course, y'all all know that we have been signaling our desire and willingness to remove the suspension of jury trial proceedings. That has been done. I do want to emphasize that we as a court are not mandating anything. What we did initially was place a suspension on the jury trials, and now that suspension is removed. It's up to you guys to figure out how you want to do that and what pace you decide to do that. We don't intend to get in the way of your judgment, nor do I think you want us to. But we do want you to be mindful and careful. Of course, there's this fear that if you look at the most recent reports that the winter is going to be rough and the COVID is not nearly done with us just yet. At least that's what all the initial reports are. Nothing that we said in that previous order is irreversible. And so if we need to roll back any proceedings, we can. If you need to roll back any proceedings at the local level, you can. And so let's continue to exercise sound judgment. As you do open up your jury trial proceedings, I have to emphasize, please, please, please make sure you do your planning and make sure you get those plans submitted to the AOC for posting on their website. It is proven to be a real source of comfort for people who are being called in to know that those plans are out there. And I will tell you that people are looking. In most of the conversations I've had with the media, they report to me on what they have seen with the plans. So our order requires that before you open up proceedings, those plans that would be submitted. So please make sure that you do that, and those will be posted. I think that's it for now. I'm pleased that Justice Keith Blackwell has decided to join us. You might not know that, but he's been our resident expert on all things grand jury related. We've had 4 or 5 circuits volunteer to explore the possibility of a virtual grand jury process, and they've been waiting for the guidelines to be developed. Justice Blackwell was very key in working on those guidelines, and he is here to walk us through what is the gist of what has been circulated to you guys. And then, of course, if you have any questions or comments before we finalize that guidance, we want to hear from you. Justice Blackwell.
Thank you, Chief, and good afternoon. We circulated in advance of today's meeting a draft of the guidance for remote grand jury proceedings. This guidance document we put together with input from a lot of different sources, including the COVID task force, which had done a memo on remote grand jury proceedings. We also drew on a memorandum that Mr. Mike Terry at the Bondurant Law Firm put together, as well as some of the guidelines and protocols adopted by the federal courts around the country and in other states. The key takeaway for remote grand juries that I would like and that the court would like all of you to take away is they don't have to all come in the same form. I think when a lot of us think about remote proceedings, we tend to think about all the participants participating from their living rooms with a laptop in front of them. That is one way to do remote grand jury proceedings. I believe that with proper care and some particular steps taken, that could be made to be a legal proceeding, that you could do it that way if that's what public health conditions called for. But that's not the only way to do it. A lot of the federal courts have been doing it by splitting their grand juries into 2 or 3 parts, distributing those parts of the grand jury either to different locations in one central courthouse or to different federal buildings within the district. Then they link up those rooms that those parts of the grand jury are in, and they have remote proceedings in that way, where grand jurors are gathered together, but in small groups rather than as a whole. For a variety of reasons that set forth in the draft document, an approach like that may actually be optimal. That, for one thing, gives the court the power to secure the physical space that the grand jurors are in, which assist with preserving grand jury secrecy and also helps the grand jurors keep their attention on the task at hand. They're not distracted by other things that may be going on in their homes. So to the extent public health conditions allow, that may actually be the optimal form, but there are a lot of different hybrid forms, some of which are discussed in the guidance document. Ultimately, it is for the chief judge under the Chief Justice's now 7th judicial emergency order. It is for the chief judge of the Superior Court in each circuit, in consultation with the district attorney and any other judicial personnel that need to be consulted, to decide whether to resume grand jury proceedings, whether to continue grand jury proceedings, and whether to do so by in-person proceedings or whether to do so by remote proceedings. This guidance is not intended to push any particular court towards remote proceedings, but we did think it was prudent, especially with the direction in which the numbers appear to be going, to go ahead and get some guidance out on remote proceedings as an alternative to in-person proceedings, so that if it becomes impossible or impractical in your circuit to continue with in-person proceedings, you do have an alternative that you can explore. I have had a conversation, a rather extended conversation with Judge LaGrua. She's given me some very helpful input on this document. So we are going to be making a few revisions to the draft guidance that we sent around just to clear up a couple of things that maybe weren't so clear when we first put it together. I've also talked to Judge Asha Jackson about what's going on with their grand jury proceedings out in DeKalb. And I would welcome any other input that anybody else around the state might have. So with that, Chief, I think I'll be happy to take questions and answer them if I can.
Thank you, Justice Blackwell, for all your work, and do want to second what he said earlier about the work of the task force, and I do thank them for getting us far down the road in this area. Want to make sure that you are all comfortable and understand what's in the document, and so I'll open it up for questions and comments.
Chief Justice, this is Wade Padgett. Just so that everybody's on the same page, this doesn't mean you have to do grand jury remotely. It is just guidelines if you choose to do grand jury remotely, correct?
That is absolutely correct. It's a tool in your chest should you decide to pull it out and use it. Okay. Well, very good. Thank you, Justice Blackwell, very much. We really are grateful. Okay. Also want to point out that Ms. Clanton and I have been exchanging emails just to kind of survey the availability of rapid testing opportunities and resources that might be available to our court systems. We are continuing to go down that road. If we find a reservoir of supplies, we will make that available and let you know what you can do to access that. Has anybody had any success in identifying rapid testing resources? Is anybody using rapid testing? Okay, if y'all find out anything, please let us know. We would love to be able to even add that to the arsenal. Last thing I want to do is turn it over to Judge LaGrua for an update on the COVID task force.
Thanks, Chief. Appreciate it. The first thing, and this was pursuant to discussion with you, since we've been in existence now for, I think, a little over 6 months or close there too, we've had a great working group of folks. I couldn't be more pleased with the folks I've been able to work with and get to know. You put together an extraordinary group of people, me excluded, but it's been great. With that said, Judge Russ McClellan has been instrumental in helping guide us and has really been my go-to if there's been a situation where I could not be present or something needed to be handled. And after consulting with you, it is my pleasure today to announce to the Judicial Council, and I've already told the task force this, that Judge McClellan is now the official, has been the unofficial, but is now the official vice chair of the COVID-19 task force. So I just want to thank him again publicly for all the work and support he's done, along with all members of the task force. So thanks, Judge McClellan. Don't know if you're on, but if not, we'll let you know. The second thing, and the only other thing really, Chief, I did talk to Justice Blackwell, and we'll continue to take any input as it comes in through the task force or otherwise and pass it on to Justice Blackwell about the remote grand jury guidance. The only other update I had was on the PSA committee, and I want to commend Judge Ken Hodges, who oversees that committee, with the speed with which they were able to come up with some ability to do a PSA. I think 3 PSAs have already been shot, are in production and finishing up. One still to be worked on that we expect to do this week. And in just a moment, we're going to go ahead and play the draft 15-second PSA that you did. And I say draft because they're still putting some finishing touches and editing on it. So it is not in its final form. So please bear with us if there's some sound issues and other things. And I also want to thank Elizabeth Fite, President-elect of the State Bar, because she presented part of our PSA this weekend at the State Bar meeting. And as I understand it, and Elizabeth, pipe in if I'm wrong, or pipe in with your comments, either way, the response was overwhelmingly positive about the PSA. Is that correct?
You're absolutely right.
So I think that's a great thing. So kudos to our award-winning, Emmy-nominated Chief Justice Harold Melton. With that, Christopher, can we play the 15-second version? Just so y'all know, the 15-second version gives you a taste of what comes in the longer versions that are still being edited. So we thought we'd go ahead and play that 15-second version for everybody today. Christopher?
Ma'am, just one moment.
The right to a trial by jury is fundamental to the American system of justice. We have established rigorous safety protocols for courthouses, courtrooms, and jury spaces. Justice needs you.
So there's the short version of the PSA. There is a 30-second in production, as well as a little bit longer one to be used with actual jurors when they get to the courthouse. I think the Chief Justice did a phenomenal job, and we look forward to getting those edited and aired. So to that whole committee, the AOC staff that worked on it, the whole PSA committee, thank you very much. Any thoughts, comments, questions? That's my report, Chief.
Thank you.
We're still working on some other little things that you and I have been in contact about, and we will update as appropriate.
Thank you, Judge LaGrua. I'll explain the reason why the vocals didn't seem to match up with the visuals, because I actually did it in French. So that's why. I'm just kidding. Thank y'all. And I will point out that there are other videos that have been done. Fulton County did an amazing job with a video. It did not feature me, so I'm less partial towards it, but it is a very good video. And I also want to point out that Judge Asha Jackson did an extremely good interview with Mark Winnie on WSB TV, and very good job. It was a very friendly piece, and it made the court system throughout the state look very thoughtful and careful as we go into this process. So anything y'all can do along those lines really just helps to give the comfort level that's going to be needed. I do want to join Judge LaGrua in thanking Judge McClellan. I'm always amazed at all of you guys who eagerly take on more responsibilities beyond your day jobs. Everybody's busy, but you take on this extra work and you do such a good job. And so congratulations and thank you, Judge McClellan, for all your work. The last thing I want to add about the task force is you recall that when we shifted to the guidelines for in-person jury trials, we made the decision, or at least I made the decision, to put on hold for the moment efforts to figure out how to do remote jury trials. I've talked with Judge LaGrua, and I do think it's time, now that we've got the guidelines for in-person jury trials stood up, it's time to start looking at what and how what can we do and how can we do it in the area of virtual jury trials. We've decided that the demand for virtual jury trials is largely on the civil side rather than the criminal, and that will be the focus, just so, again, there would be another tool in the arsenal should you decide that that's what you want to implement. Also, given the fact that the projections for the COVID spread are not favorable, it is advisable, I think, that we make sure we have as many options as we can on the table. So I do thank Judge LaGrua and the task force for now turning their attention to that as we move forward. With that, I think that's everything I needed to share with you guys. And so we'll go around the horn for your reports. And I'll start with Chief Judge McFadden, Court of Appeals.
Nothing to report, Chief.
Judge Walt Davis, Business Court.
Nothing to report, thanks.
Judge Brian Romero, Council Superior Court Judges.
Hey, Chief, there are just a couple of questions I have that I probably could have asked during the previous section, but I'd like to do it now if that's okay.
Sure.
The first is, I know that we've got Jennifer Dalton on the line, who's with the Department of Public Health. And I was kind of hoping, after taking a look at some of the recommendations that we've had from the department over the last several months, I was kind of hoping that at some point the department could take a position regarding when it's safe for us to have jury trials. In other words, I understand the need for some wiggle room, but is 100 cases per 100,000, is that a threshold that's important? Is that, should you be having jury trials above that number? Should you be waiting until they're below that number? Is there any way that Ms. Dalton would be willing to talk to us a little bit about that? And if she's not available and she can't, or
I'm sorry. No, it took me a minute to figure out how to unmute. I apologize. I'm really not in a position to speak on behalf of Dr. Toomey, but I can certainly raise the question with her, and I'll be glad to let you know, to let the Justice Melton know what her response is.
Thank you. That's really all I'm looking for. I just wanted to raise the question.
Thank you very much.
And I guess another point that I was hoping to explore just a little bit. I understand that the next step for the task force is to look at virtual civil jury trial guidance. But related to that, do you think that there's a chance for us, Chief Justice, to also look at some virtual criminal jury trial guidance as well, at least in in some limited way with respect to perhaps voir dire?
Absolutely. I do think a large part of what we learn by putting together guidelines for civil jury trials will be transferable to the criminal context. The criminal folks are very leery about the prospect. And so my thought, and I think Judge LaGrua agreed, would be that we focus on civil, knowing that a lot of the lessons learned can be borrowed. And there certainly are jurisdictions that are moving forward, and we're going to try to learn from them. We're not starting with nearly as much of a blank slate as we had a few months ago. But yes, I don't see any reason why a lot of what we gather and learn can't be transferred over to the criminal context. We need to be intentional about how we. But the jury selection process is a good example. We will divide up the civil remote process into two categories, one being the virtual, the voir dire, and the other one being the actual trial.
Well, thank you, Chief. I appreciate that. Last thing I want to say is a big thank you to Justice Blackwell and your team. I think that the remote guidance that has been circulated is fantastic. And that's my report.
Thank you, sir. All right, Judge West Teller, state court judges.
Not much to report, but I will say that Judge McClellan, after all of the accolades he's received today at our general membership meeting of the council, he was presented with the prestigious Ogden Doremus Award for his services to the council and to the judiciary. So he was recognized by our council as well.
Very good. Well placed. Thank you, sir. I think Judge Jones is not with us with the juvenile court judges. I think Eric John was trying to join us. Eric, are you there?
Chief, I think Kirsten Wallace is there. Kirsten, are there any updates from the Council of Juvenile Court Judges?
No, there aren't any current updates right now. Eric and Judge Jones are actually still in the seminar.
Thank you, Kirsten.
Thank you.
All right. And I didn't see Judge Walk with the probate court judges, but Judge Lake, I know you're here.
Oh, I'm here.
Okay, there you go.
I'll let Thomas speak. He's much more eloquent than I, but pretty much your entire first part about Judge Batten and Judge Lake are pretty much the entirety of our presentation. So no other report from the council other than to say thanks to the state court judges for their work on their legislation that Judge McClellan and I have been chatting about. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge Walk. Judge Anderson with the magistrate court judges.
Mr. Chief Justice, I'm going to defer to our president. I believe he is on the line.
Nothing to report, Chief Justice.
I'm getting background noise. They're actually cutting and sawing on the hot water heater right now. Judge Weaver, municipal court judges.
No report, Chief Justice.
And Ms. Fight.
Hey, good afternoon, Chief. On behalf of the State Bar, I just wanted to report that we had our Board of Governors meeting this past weekend. And as Judge LaGrua pointed out, we did show the PSA campaign and got some excellent feedback. I didn't promise that you would be signing autographs, but I thought about it. So we also this weekend selected a new executive director. It's a well-known secret who it is, but because he has not given his notice yet formally at his job, we want to just respect the process a little bit longer, but we do have a new candidate. As it relates to the professional liability insurance committee, they presented a report. That committee has been talking and working for a little over a year or so now. And long story short, they're going to want to give their final report in an in-person meeting if possible because of the nature of the topic. And so with that said, we anticipate that will be presented at their final report will be presented at either our mid-year or spring meeting, just depending on if we're able to do something like that in person. And then finally, we made some miscellaneous rule changes that we hope to present to the Supreme Court regarding our ability to continue to conduct virtual meetings. As you can imagine, our bylaws, which were drafted pre-COVID, did not formally anticipate the need for a virtual meeting. So this allows the board at its discretion, given certain criteria, to be able to conduct virtual meetings. And that is it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fight, and thank you for your personal work on the task force and the support of the State Bar as a whole during this time. Ms. Clanton, let's hear from you and the AOC, please.
Absolutely. Thanks, Chief. The AOC remains fully functional. Want to let the Judicial Council members know that late on Friday, the Chief issued an order expanding the membership on the Ad Hoc Committee on Improving Community Access to Legal Resources, otherwise known as the Law Library Committee. And this committee will now include a member of the Superior Court clerks as a representative. So I look forward to hearing from the clerks who they select. Also, I'm pleased to announce that Ben Luke will be joining the AOC as its Chief Technology Officer on November 1st, 2020. So that's right around the corner. Ben is leaving the Council of Superior Court Judges, and we appreciate their sharing his tremendous talent with us. I also want to take this time to thank Sterling Perry for doing an outstanding job as interim IT director for the last 3 months. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, and thank you for recognition of Sterling. He really has done a good job, and Ben will have some big shoes to fill, but by all accounts, he's willing and able to do that, so we look forward to that. Judge Gosselin with the Council of Accountability Court Judges.
Good afternoon, Chief Justice. This is Taylor Jones, Executive Director for CACJ. Judge Gosselin is not able to be with us today, and we do not have anything to report for this week. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. Ms. Johnson with the Council on Dispute Resolution.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Mr. Chief Justice. I only want to report that the Commission on Dispute Resolution met last week for a strategic planning session. We've put together a list of projects on which we plan to focus our time and resources for the next 2 years. We will continue and expand our support for remote appearances and dispute resolution services. And we want to make sure that we are keeping our neutrals and court program directors abreast of emerging technology and techniques, continue to provide needed resources to effectively conduct dispute resolution sessions remotely, and expand on those best practices we drafted earlier this year. Our next meeting is next Wednesday, November 4th at 2, and that'll be by Zoom. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. Is Tina Robinson?
I'm here.
Great.
I'm
Ms.
here. Hi, thank you. We have nothing to report, but I do want to thank you for allowing us to have a clerk represented on the Law Library Committee. We have discussed it, and we will hopefully get with Ms. Johnson by the end of the week to let her know who that person will be. But we truly appreciate you.
Absolutely. I love that you're interested. More importantly. Ms. Greer with the Commission on Professionalism.
Hi, good afternoon, Chief. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Good afternoon.
I'm just never sure if I've correctly unmuted myself. Thank you. Just briefly, the commission had its 6th professionalism CLE on Friday, the 23rd, and I want to thank Justice Boggs, Director of the JQC Chuck Boring, and Commission Member Adjoa Seymour. They did a fantastic job. We had 350 people to attend that CLE. I think we would have had more if it wasn't at 9 o'clock in the morning. That's just me. But we got good feedback from it, and I'm very grateful to Justice Boggs, Mr. Boring, and Ms. Seymour for all of the time and preparation that they put into planning that CLE so that it went well. As the holidays approach, I just want to raise 2 issues and ask for your thought leadership and your help on them. The first is as the holidays approach, and it's one of the things that I talked about in the October professionalism page that is out now, it is going to probably add some additional stressors for a lot of people, myself included. And the tendency may be to be a little bit more short-tempered, to not be as thoughtful about what we say or what we post. And, you know, just a reminder to all of us, and I'm preaching to myself most of all, to just be more thoughtful about how we interact with each other during this upcoming time, because it is a difficult time for a lot of people, again, myself included. And we just need to be mindful that we're representing not only ourselves, but our profession. And to the extent that we can get that message out and just ask people to think before speaking or think before posting, I would appreciate your help in doing that. The second thing that I want to make sure that people remember is that there is help out there and there are resources out there. The State Bar, many of you are familiar with the Lawyer's Assistance Program, and I want to reiterate it's there and not take anything away from that, but I do know that we have non-lawyer judges. We've had at least 3 probate court judges from what I've read in the daily report to pass as a result of COVID. We had a Superior Court judge. And while there may be employee assistance programs to help those individuals, in case there is not, the Commission has on its website, as part of our Moving Forward CLE that we did in April, we invited a representative of DBHDD, and she put together a lot of resources that are available to those who are not lawyers that may need them, including our non-lawyer judges and judicial staff that may not have access to either the State Bar's Lawyers Assistance Program or EAP through their employer. So, you know, as we approach the holidays, please to keep that in mind. If you go to the Commission's website under events, you'll find the Moving Forward page, and you'll see those resources. We also had Dr. Alex Crosby to contribute some information and resources. Some of them are free or sliding scale. So please just keep that in mind, and please also try and help to share that word throughout our legal community. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Greer. Ms. Hines, do you have anything for the Council on Court Administrators?
Yes, sir. Thank you, and good afternoon, Chief Justice. I just wanted to announce that I are transitioning into the role of immediate past president. So today, I am just sharing the news that Robin Rooks, who is the Circuit Court Administrator for the Bell Forsyth Judicial Circuit, installed as the new GCCA president on October 6th at our virtual conference. I don't believe she's here with us today, but she will be attending future meetings.
Thank you, and congratulations on a fine year, and congratulations on moving on.
Thank you.
Mr. Ashworth with ICJE. Okay, and then Ms. Veal with JQC. I know Chuck Boring.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, Chief Justice. I'm here for Mr. Boring, and we have nothing new to report. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, that's everybody. Thank you all again. I do want to point out that between now and the next time we hear and see from each other, we will have an election, and it is a sensitive time in terms of political conversation, and we as judges have a very delicate role to play in that, especially those of us who might be faced with dealing with some of the litigation that comes. So kind of similar to what Ms. Greer was signaling, I do want to urge us all to be circumspect in our public comments about the election and about politics in general, and be kinder and gentler with one another during this time. I do hope to see you again soon. My thought as far as when we meet again we would not meet on the 2nd of November, but maybe meet on the 9th of November. That's just my initial thought. So that's the plan. Do be mindful of the general session that we have scheduled on the 11th of December, the main meeting, regular meeting of the Judicial Council. More importantly, y'all be safe out there. And again, thank you for all you do and for your continued work.
Thank you for your leadership.
Thank you, everyone. Be safe.